Should I address you as Tim Maholic or Tim or?
Yeah, either or. I mean, my name is Tim Maholic. If they weren't that good, if the production quality wasn't that good, do that whole thing and release all this stuff, and then all of a sudden I'm like ashamed of the quality. And so I was like, well, if I do it to covers, I don't care. I'll just produce them. If they're garbage, I'll put them out. Who cares? It's just a cover song. I've said this to a bunch of people, and every time I say this, people get jazzed up. And the fact is, it's true. It's objectively true. So there is a shortage of content.
Awesome, man. So yeah, thank you so much for being on the show and excited to have you here. And man, I've got definitely some great questions for you. I think that, checking you out online, I mean, the biggest thing that stood out to me in one of your videos was just like, hey, why not play covers? Like, why not consider it? It's done all these things for my band. We've gotten 35 million streams. We've gotten the tour. And I really wanted to delve into that and get your take on it. I mean, were you because most of us music artists and why am I going to play someone else's stuff? I want to play my own stuff. I mean, what was it the experience for you getting into that?
Yeah, I mean, the cover thing is kind of interesting. There's two different versions of that. One is the band that I tour with now. It's called Dead on a Sunday, and that band kind of blew up on TikTok because of a cover, and it wasn't even the cover. Well, I mean, the cover blew up on its own, but my buddy, the singer, he kind of sounds when he sings like Bob from Bob's Burgers. So like people were like hating on him on TikTok, like trying to like, razz him up a little bit, being like, dude, it sounds like Bob from Bob's Burgers. Then he dressed up like Bob from Bob's Burgers and then did the meme like with some
Uh,
burgers. And then that
that's
video
hilarious.
went viral. And so it's like, lean into your haters, like for a fact. Like don't let these people tell you what's going on. It doesn't matter. The other one is I started a cover band on the internet. So I had this idea to just do a cover band. Like if you think about if you want to make money playing music, one of the easiest ways quickly is just to play covers, like be a wedding band,
Yeah.
right? Just play covers. So if you're doing that thing in a physical space, why not just do that on the internet? And then I saw all these people kind of doing that on YouTube, kind of having this, you know, m- you know, following being built around them just being cover bands. And so I was like, hey, like why can't I do that? Like this doesn't seem like it's that difficult to figure out just to play a cover. So then it was like, okay, what if we started an online cover band? So I got with the guy and we were like, let's start this cover band online. I looked it up, and if you pay the mechanical license, which is really in the modern age, it's like a fifth of the streaming royalties. So you're paying them like 17% or something, or I guess 20% ish of the
Mhm.
streaming royalties go to the songwriter. So, if we cover somebody's song and the song makes $1,000, we keep 800, they get 200. Pretty
Yeah.
cool. I mean, for me, my original thought was I just want to get better at producing music. So it's like if I
Yeah.
can get better at producing music, then there's no real loss here because I still want to produce original music. So, but I didn't want to necessarily like produce original music and then release that original music. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like if they weren't that good, if the production quality wasn't that good, I didn't want to like do that whole thing and release all this stuff. And then all of a sudden I'm like ashamed of the quality. And so I was like, well, if I do it to covers, I don't care. I'll just produce them. If they're garbage, I'll put them out. Who cares? It's just a cover song. Should not have that
So
issue. So yeah, long story short, I just realized let's try to monetize this thing. If you get a cover that, let's say you get some crazy cover and it streams, 100 million times, it's like, dude, you're making, 300 grand off some cover. Cool. And if you don't, all right, well, maybe it streams 20 million times or 30, or maybe it doesn't stream and then maybe somebody hears it and they want to put it in a movie soundtrack. You can still license like sync license a song that's a cover. Now it has to get approved and all that stuff, but imagine you're the rights holder for some song and all of a sudden your manager gets a hey, they want to use some cover version of your song in this Netflix show. They're gonna pay you 60 grand and then this other band gets to, whatever for like, yeah, whatever, dude. Who cares? It's not my song as far as like it's not my recorded master. It's
yeah.
somebody recording my song and then I also get a so there's like a million ways to make money doing that thing. So it was more like an exploration. and then it happened to work, and I was like, whoa, this is actually not as hard as I thought it would be. You know?
What was the first one that hit that you surprised at the response?
I mean, for that project, we did a cover of Where Is My Mind? And so Where Is My Mind kind of popped off pretty hard. It was definitely, I felt like it took like the first two or three or four songs. I actually did kind of B-side songs. I mean, they were still huge songs, but not like songs that I would feel bad, meaning like I'd have to go back and be like, man, I really wish I had saved that song until I knew how to produce better, you know?
Sure.
When they did the shutdowns, I really that's not my thing. Like everybody here, I guess, enjoyed that or something, and I was very much like, I don't want to do this. This makes no sense to me at all.
Right.
Um, so I just didn't do that at all, and I just went to the other side of the planet where they weren't doing that. So it's a 7 hour flight to Hawaii and then a 7 hour flight from Hawaii to there. So it's 6,700 miles away from Denver.
Ooh,
Population is 40,000 people. There's nobody there. I had a nice 3 bedroom, 3 bathroom house with a pool right near the beach. It was great. And there was nobody there. So it was
very nice.
everyone here was like freaking out. Well, I guess not in Oklahoma. Oklahoma's open and fine, but in Denver, everyone was freaking out, and I was not doing any of that. So
Living
uh,
it up.
just sitting on an island producing some music, waiting out the storm, as it were.
Man, that seems to be the dream. Get away, work on music, be by the beach, right?
It could have been worse, I'll be honest. It could have the only downside with that whole scenario is I was still doing my day job, like doing tech consulting, and my hours were US mainland hours, which is essentially 8 hours in the future. So if it was
Yeah.
midnight in Saipan, it's 8 a.m. in the States. So I was waking up at midnight. Which is, I don't know if anyone's aware, but that's so bad for your body. Like they call
Oh
it the
yeah.
graveyard shift because you will go into the grave. Like it's
Quicker to get in the grave.
yeah, like it's not called the graveyard because it's late at night. It's called the graveyard because like you are entering the graveyard. Like if you work that shift long enough, you will just die sooner. So
Hey, so when you went over there to the island and everything, I mean, were you working remotely with other musicians or how'd you do that?
yeah, I mean during that time I was pretty much just doing the cover project. My buddy had just started the he had just started the Dead on a Sunday rock band during this time. He was actually like plowing through drummers, and I was getting text messages like, "Dude, you got to come back to Denver. I need a decent drummer." And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really nice here right now, and I don't want to be
Yeah.
there." So, I didn't really do a lot of collaborative stuff other than just working on the covers, and then yeah, that was pretty much it. Just rocking out covers. I mean, I was pretty focused to just try that out. I was like, can I make this experiment work? Like if this cover band on the internet thing works, then that opens a lot of potential for a lot of things, like not just for me, but I could show other people what's going on. So it was more like I was kind of like just testing. So it was like, all right, let me push this thing as far as I can. So for that time period, really from 2020 to 2023, that's the majority of what I did. And then it worked, and then I was like, whoa. And then Dead on a Sunday, the band that I tour with, was doing pretty extensive touring, in the U.S. and Europe in the past 2 years. And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take a break, see what's going on here, and then, yeah, whether I start another cover project or do something else, I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I have a bunch of covers that that I've framed over the last year that are pretty exciting. That I have some people that are working on those with, but haven't really built a brand for it yet. I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do with that yet, but I would imagine by June I'll have that kind of figured out.
That's very interesting. Hey, but with putting the covers on say like YouTube or whatever, isn't it they automatically do the royalty setup through YouTube? So at this point, I think there's a new law that passed, or do you know anything about that?
I don't know anything about that. I guess some people when they use the word cover, they mean like to use like a drum cover where you play over the original song.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about that in the scenario that I'm doing. Every single
Yeah.
piece of the covers that I have released, I have done all of the I've recorded every instrument or worked with somebody who has recorded the instruments. So every single instrument was recorded fresh. We didn't use the original track and then like sing over it or play drums over it. Whereas on YouTube, if you take your drum set and you just play over some existing rock song,
Drum cover.
people also call that a cover, but
Yeah. Yeah.
really that's not kind of under the law, you know, generally speaking, what they refer to when they mean like a mechanical license cover, because really you're using the original copywritten and, you know, owned master, which really you're not legally allowed to do. I'm sure that,
Yeah.
and when YouTube just goes, okay, you're not allowed to use that, all that money is going to the actual owner. Good luck with your YouTube channel.
Right.
Unless the owner is like, hey, nobody can ever put any of our stuff on YouTube, and then you get the copyright strike. So it's like you can do content ID where it just goes, hey, by the way, this isn't yours. We'll pay the right person. Or, hey, by the way, we know who the right person is and they don't want anyone using it. So you now have a strike on your channel. If you do that 2 more times, you get to start over. So,
Hey, this is Jeff. I'd like to take a second and tell you about this channel. I really encourage you to hit the subscribe button. This really helps out the channel, helps it grow. And also, if you can like and put your comments for this video, that'd so much be appreciated. This really helps me to continue to book amazing artists that hopefully inspire you and continue to grow this channel. Thank you. That's so interesting. So that really helped you kind of build out your music production chops. I mean, what's the typical process of recording the cover songs? Is it, you play most of the instruments? How do you do it?
so the last project I worked on, I had a guy who was doing guitar, drums, keys, most of the instrumentation and vocals. And then I was doing the drums. So he would frame up kind of the rough thing. I gave him a bunch of drum loops to kind of drag in there, like, hey, here's these 10 basic beats that we're roughly going to use. Just drag and drop these in there, frame up a song, pick some random song, frame it up, then send it to me. I can play the real drum part that's probably going to go in there. Then he can cut a rough vocal. And then from there, we now have a rough scratch. I can produce it. So then it's as I start producing it, I'm like, oh, hey, the guitar in the second verse is not this doesn't work the way I'm producing it now. I need this other thing, or hey, I like this part you did, can you double it up or whatever. So now it's kind of this back and forth between producing and then re-recording. And a lot of the stuff, like the final vocals and the final drums, the way I do it now, because now I do everything myself. So now all these new covers I've done, I framed up myself. It's all me on bass, me on keys, me on guitar, drums, everything else. So it gets rough. And then if I send it to a vocalist, which is what I've been doing now, because I don't sing, I have a radio announcer voice. So if I record the vocal, if I have the other person record the vocals, they record a scratch. It's just, hey, get it close. Here's what I need. It's not perfect, but it's good. They'll record the scratch. Once I get that back, I can produce it. Once I've pretty much produced it, not like perfectly, but once it's been produced to a
Mhm.
level that I feel like is really, really good, then I will either play the final drum take, which is now the drums. I'm no longer playing to a click. Because I have a Roland kit here, and so I use Superior Drummer. So I'll play the final drum take, which is just naturally played over the music, turn the click off. And then the final vocal take would be sung over the produced version of the song with the final drum take. And it feels more natural. It feels like it's not this like I played drums to a click and then I played a guitar to a click and then I played a keyboard to a click and here's a song to a click. Like that sounds so weird. Like when you do that, it doesn't sound real. To me, at least. Everybody's got their own thing. But for me, I feel like something's lost there. And it's in these like 2 to 7 millisecond areas. We're not talking about a lot, but it's this kind of thing that happens in the less than 10 millisecond sway zone where the normal human can't perceive it. So it's not like it's
You can't pick
imperfect,
it up.
but
Right.
but you feel it. Like when it happens, you're like, ooh, yeah, that wherever that hit was right. And you're like, well, that was slightly behind. It's like, well, that felt right. That was the right place to put that particular note. So when you quantize everything, you don't get that feeling. At
Absolutely.
least to me, I mean, and I listen to a lot of electronic music. I like it too. It's not like I'm like, you can't get it from electronic music. You can. It's just for the stuff that I'm making, which is like rock or reggae, you just need that natural feel. So I play the drums. So the guitars and all the stuff, those are recorded over a quantized situation and adjusted. They're pretty tight.
Yeah.
Then I record the final drum part, which is loose, but very, it's accurate because I'm playing it. Then I'll make tiny adjustments if they need it. Then I'll send that to the singer and be like, hey, here's a production. Because if you're a singer and you're singing over a production, you're going to get a different experience than if you're singing over a rough scratch, right? If I put vocal delays and throws and there's all this crazy stuff happening in the track, when you're in the vocal booth and that's happening in your head, it's a different experience than if it's just, all right, here's kind of the song, but make sure to sing it like it's the real thing. Like, how do you do that? I don't know how to do that. I don't know if, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure Prince could do that, but I'm not working with Prince, but um,
But you
so
have a very good point. I mean, even with Prince, I'm a huge Prince fan. I mean, some of his best stuff, honestly, I mean, most of it was him. I mean, don't get me wrong, but his best stuff to me was when he was more collaborative. Some of the other albums that he did, and it was always interesting. It's very interesting original music artist, but his best stuff really was when he was bouncing off a band. And even within some of those, it's like he might have did 3, 4 songs in that album that was really just him, but he was still kind of feeding off that energy. I
right.
totally know what you mean. It's like if it's too mechanical, it takes some of the soul out of it. And it's like I said, there's this natural rhythm that should be there instead of everything being so tight and quantized, right?
100%.
Yeah. That's really cool. And then so once you're done with the video, then you got to do the video production. How do you put that together?
With that particular project, we didn't do any videos.
Really?
All we did was put songs on Spotify, Pandora. We weren't doing so like that's the even crazier part of that whole thing that so like a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're doing all this TikTok stuff. You're doing like if you're doing the covers, right? You got to be." And I'm like, "I wasn't doing any of that."
Wow.
What I find is that so I have this thesis. I'm actually making a video about this next week. I'm really excited about this because I've said this to a bunch of people, and every time I say this, people get jazzed up. And the fact is, it's true. It's objectively true. So there is a shortage of content. And then you're going to be like, what are you talking? Every single person, their mom is posting on this thing. What are you
Yeah.
talking about? There's a shortage of content. There is. So check this out today or whenever you want. And if you're watching this, then you do it too. Pick something. Pick anything. I don't care what it is. Death metal bands. You can pick, like snowboarding. You can pick, like leather working. I don't care what it is. Pick something and then go down the rabbit hole of that thing, trying to find all the best belt makers that are on YouTube or all the best snowboarders that are just try to do that. I promise you, it will take you not even 50 minutes and you will find 90% of the good stuff. I promise you. It's not
Yeah.
this isn't like it's not hiding. The algorithms are so good now. Algorithms know quality. They do. They're just good. They understand if something has been, properly structured and produced in a way to grab attention and to hold attention. That's the whole purpose of these algorithms is to you get that stuff in front of people. They want to advertise to you. They want you to stare at the screen. They know how to get you to stare at the screen because they know the good stuff makes you stare at the screen. Other people stare at the screen when they watch this. Now you're going to stare at the screen when you watch it. Try to find the best of anything. Reggae bands, rock bands, snowboarders, it doesn't matter. You will hit the bottom of that bucket far quicker than you think you will. So like go find the best goth bands on planet Earth. There's like there's probably 20,000 goth bands.
Yeah.
Great. There's probably 1,000 decent goth bands. There's probably 100 good goth bands. There are 10 world-class goth bands. So now, if you realize it's a funnel. There's a lot of bad stuff and there's a tiny amount of good stuff. If you want to be
Right.
discovered, what is it that you're trying to do? You're trying to make good stuff. Like just make good stuff. Like, and I get that it's like just make really good stuff, and then everything's gonna work out. Like it's so easy. Why don't you guys make good stuff? Well, I get that it's hard, but that's kind of the thing, right? Like, isn't that what we're here to do? Is make the good like. So you see the people that are just like pumping out as much as they can, and they're like, man, nobody listens. It's like, I don't know, you barely listened when you were making it. Like
Right.
when I'm making songs, I never want to hear them again. Why? Because I've listened to them for hundreds of hours. Like I've really on one sing the first song that I released with that first cover project, I took 9.5 months to produce and mix it. The first song. One song. I
Wow.
worked on one song for 9 months. That
Wow.
song still streams 300,000 times, like 200,000 times a month. It's like, dude, you make better stuff. And by make better stuff, just take your time. Like you're not in a rush. If you're in a rush, then you're gonna make hasty art and hasty stuff, and nobody wants to watch that. You don't want to watch that. You don't want to watch some YouTube video that some dude just kind of like hold his phone. He's walking around a parking lot. It's all just kind of like whatever. Okay. And he does that 100 times in a month, and he's like, I'm posting all these videos. Why am I not growing? It's like, dude, what are you even posting? It's like the same
Okay.
thing with music. It's like, okay, you wrote 100 songs and you recorded 100 songs and you put out 100 songs. Is one of them in a top tier? Is one of them competitive? Like, is one of them competitively produced, competitively mixed? And by competitive, I mean, if you took the biggest band in your genre and you put your song next to it, do they sound like they could have been produced by the same team or by the same type of equipment? Like, do they sound even remotely like they're from the same galaxy, or does one sound like it's on an iPhone, and one sounds like it was recorded in a $20 million studio? My whole goal with the original cover project was like, hey, I just want to be competitive. I want to take the biggest reggae bands and then I want to play my song next to theirs, and I want people to be like, yeah, these sound pretty much the same. And
Yeah.
what happened is exactly that. Now I've had, some of my favorite guys in reggae bands reach out to me and be like, hey man, love the production on this, love the production on that. Like, can't believe what you did here, this and this and that. And I was just making these cover songs, but my goal was to produce them competitively. So it's like produce them, put as much of my time, hundreds of hours per song for me to produce and mix. And then most of the songs I ended up mastering. I paid people to master them, but I couldn't get it the way I wanted. And then I bought myself really nice Neumann monitors and tuned a room, and I just mastered them too. But make it as competitive as I humanly possibly can by putting the time in and taking the time to make the good stuff. And then now that's the other thing too. It lives forever. So I don't have to go back and maintain it. Uh, Music or digital content is a rental house that you never have to fix the roof, change the water heater, and your service costs are like $12 a year.
Yeah.
So if you can make a nice house that somebody wants to rent in this scenario, this imaginary analogy, your service costs are so cheap.
Yeah.
There's no degradation, there's no depreciation. I just pay DistroKid my fee and do my thing, and as long as originally the house, aka in this, the song was really good, it's just gonna stream forever. I mean, will it eventually fall off? Sure. Will it have ups and downs? Sure. But like, you know, that project hasn't released music in over a year and it's still growing
You're still picking up new views.
constantly. I'm
Is
not
it
touching
just
it. Now, like, has it dropped on some streaming platforms versus others? Sure. Algorithms change and people's listening habits change. And reggae is really seasonal. So in the summer, it's crazy. It's like crazy. And then in right now, the whole country is under an ice blanket. I don't think
yeah.
people are listening to reggae right now. I mean, actually, I'm sure I could look and I'm sure there are people listening, but um, yeah, I guess all I'd say is the number one piece of advice that I would give people um, is just take the time. Like, what are you doing here? Like, what's the goal? If the goal is so, like, I started this brand called Do Music Full Time. So I'm building out all these courses right now that are all free. I'm not paying. None of this is paid. It's not like something that you can be like, this guy is on here to sell a course. Nope. I am spending like hundreds of hours building this entire course library right now that I'm releasing in the next like 3 weeks, which is just here's
Nice.
exactly what I did, here's what's going on, and it's all free. Just just learn because, and here's why I'm doing it. Most people aren't going to do it. Most people aren't going to do it. I can give you the whole playbook. I can show you exactly what I did, exactly where I clicked, exactly what I'm telling you that you need to do, the plugins to use, the software to use, how to set up your monitor. I can tell you every single piece of information, and people are still going to be like, "Yeah, how do I do that in like 3 weeks with no budget?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know how to do that one. I don't do magic. I
Right.
just I just invest my time and my money so I can do the thing, which is hard. It's hard. So it's if it was easy, everybody would do it. But the fact is, it's not. So
Sure.
it's like now, can everybody produce a record that can stream 100 million times? Probably not. That's probably not something that every human being can do. Um, but most people can produce a really high quality, especially with the tools that are now available. It's not like this is, it's not like a computer is $4,000 anymore. You can buy the M4 Mac Mini for $600.
Yeah,
You can buy an interface. The SSL 2 Plus interface has SSL preamps in it. It is $300. So for less than $1,000, you have a world class computer, a world class audio interface, and the SSL 2 Plus comes with Ableton Live Lite. What do you like?
that's you
What is
want.
it's $1,000? What is stopping you from doing that? Like, I'm not stopping you. Like,
Yeah.
and
That's
now
never been more
now
convenient.
just take your time, which apparently everyone has infinite time because everyone's staring at this thing nonstop, um, and use that to build a skill set. Once you have the skills, you can either produce your own music, great, or you can produce other people's music, great. But
It's a great skill for sure. It's like you said, taking control of your career. I mean, otherwise you're leaving it in the hands of other people who may or may not realize your artistic vision. Then what do? Get
oh
a producer, like bounce through them. I mean, it's tough.
yeah, it's not. I don't know. I think people. Um, but it's funny. So I'm like going through this whole thing right now, building out this course, and one of the things that I'm like stressing to people the entire time is this will take you 10 years. This will take you 10 years. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not selling a course. So I'm not being like, we're going to get your results in 90 days. No, we're not. I promise you, no one is. That's not how this works. It's going to take you 10 years. Now, 10 years means 10 years of working on it 25 hours a week.
Correct.
Work more on it. It might take you 5 years. If you
Mhm.
can do it 50 hours a week, if all you do is go to work, pay your bills, come home and crank on this thing, 5 years from now, you could wake up and you could be making 100 grand a year doing music. You could, for sure, 100%. It's going to take
Yeah.
time, but
Yeah.
you know, I think the timeline is 10 years. Everyone that I've seen that's successful, that's like made a career in music, it's taken them 10 years. And, that 10 years, it can be sped up, like I said, but realistically, just account for it. Like if this is what you really want to do, and let's say you're 26, realize that when you're 36, which is how old I am, you're still going to feel like you're 26. Doesn't matter, but you will now have the 10-year foundation that you just laid that you get to stand on and build a house on. If you try to, try to do these, make it happen quick or go viral or do this whole thing, sure. Can you get lucky? Sure. People win the lottery, it's a thing, but I don't know. I'm not trying to make my financial outcome tied to lottery winnings. That sounds insane. So I'll just, take the time. It's going to take you 10 years, put in the 10 years. At the end of 10 years, if you have actually worked 25 hours a week, nonstop, learning how to produce, learning how to mix, learning how to, understand branding, all the stuff you need to networking, contracts, starting an LLC, running your own books, making your own merchandise. If you've done all of that and you've been doing it for 10 years and it's not working, you need to do something else.
For sure.
Like, you
Yeah.
need to go somewhere else. This is not for you. Go somewhere else. If you've put in, I mean, dude, 25 hours a week times 52 times 10, if you've done that and it's still not working out, this one might not be the one. I don't know, you might actually be the guy that's supposed to cure cancer and everything is stopping you from being a musician so that you can go help humanity in a different way. And that's
Uh,
great, but it might not be that you're supposed to be in a rock band. But the likelihood is if you do that, it would be very hard for you not to succeed in some way.
yeah,
Like, it would
yes.
be almost impossible.
So tell me, how were you able to parlay the covers to the originals? You know.
Yes. So what I did with that was really the guy that I was working with kind of was in a cover band for 15 years. So I kind of saw him playing all these bar gigs and I was like, okay, you're rocking these bar gigs. You can already do this cover thing. I need to learn how to produce. Like, the skill that I really wanted that I knew was truly valuable was production. So I was like, hold on, you already frame these covers. Like, you already do this on the weekends with, whatever, playing bars and whatever. Slam these things into what I need in this Ableton set. So a lot of it, I mean, when it was that process was mainly the way that he had already kind of done it. The way I do it now is really, I just kind of find a song that I find a song that is likely to be easy to convert into the cover based on the style that I'm doing. So reggae is kind of funky because you can't do like double time songs in reggae. There's no reggae beat that's double time. So almost all reggae beats are halftime. It's like pot, pot. It's almost all halftime.
Yeah.
There's not a tattoo, 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 chat. That doesn't exist in the reggae. I mean, in ska, sure, but if you're making
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
reggae, it's not in there. Um, at least that I know about. I'm sure someone will tell me that I'm wrong. It's the internet, of course. So, um, but so for a lot of those songs, kind of have to find a song that would sound okay if you just half timed the original for the reggae stuff. For rock stuff, because my buddy does a lot of because I don't do any of the production for Dead on a Sunday, like the touring band that I'm with. That's all Ross. He's an accomplished producer. I mean, he has, he had a massive electronic production project that was signed by Republic Records. We played Electric Forest and Lightning in a Bottle with a live electronic band back in 2017 with that thing. That's actually kind of how I started working professionally with him.
Mhm.
Um, so when he does the covers, they're more dark rock. Think like Typo Negative, if you know who that is, but
Oh yeah.
just
They're
kind of
good.
that. That's kind of, yeah, that's kind of the vibe that he's going with. So it's pretty, pretty straightforward. Like we do I guess he does a cover of Britney Spears, "Hit Me Baby," and it's all gothed out and just kind of like, the synthesizers. It's kind of like if Depeche Mode was angrier, you know.
With some heavy guitars.
Yeah, exactly. So it's cool. The vibe is cool. I like it. Yeah, I feel like the cover thing is like if you're trying to take a song that you like and turn it into a cover, the number one piece of advice I can possibly give somebody is, and this is not really, I guess, advice, do what you want, but please don't just play the song the exact way that the original person played the song. I
Put your
feel
spin
like,
on it, right?
yeah, I feel like it's just kind of like, like why? Like I get it. There's a couple people who have done it where it's like that's incredible. Like you actually did in fact play it the same way they played it, but better. Okay, there's a handful of them, and if that's you, kudos. But for the most part, like it's a song, which really means it's just a set of chords and lyrics and melodies. So just take those and put them in a whole nother context. Like try to see this particular piece of art from a different lens.
Right.
That's my and again, if you're already a funk band, well then you're gonna put whatever cover you do through a funk lens, or if you're a hip hop band, you're gonna do it through a hip hop lens. So just kind of I would keep that in mind that the move, in my opinion, is to kind of get get a little bit, you know, uh, keep your own style as intact as possible when doing the cover. So you're not just like, oh, check this out, I can play the song that same way. It's like, oh, that's not really like that's to me, I guess that's not very interesting. I'm sure people like it, but
I'm sure the audience appreciates it, right? They want to see your take on the song. They already know the original artist take on it, right?
well, 100%. And what I've found is if you do the cover in your style in a way that is impressive to people, where people are like, man, I didn't even know that this Sade song could sound like this. Great. Well, if they already liked the style of music that you do, which is funk in this scenario, and they like Sade and they like your cover, they want to hear more of you now because you've now turned them into a fan because they've heard the way that you took something they liked and made it in a, maybe not better but different that they also liked, and they're like, hey, check this out, dude, this crazy band does this crazy stuff. Cool, well now you have a new fan because you took something that they liked and presented it in a way that was different. So yeah, I feel like uh just definitely take the cover in your own, in your own world, and do things to it and then show people what you did to it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there must be something to it because I look at bands like Scary Pockets and they take these songs and they kind of put them into that funk soul cover, but they always make it interesting. And there seems to be a big audience for that, right?
Dude, the Scary Pockets thing is so cool. Those dudes are nuts.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't think I also think that, I mean, nostalgia is the most powerful free drug in my opinion. So if you can give people a hit of that, like imagine if all of a sudden I could hear, you know, my favorite album again for the first time. Like if someone could give me this drug, be like, hey, if you take this pill, you get to hear Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd for the first time again. I'd be like, yeah, dude, I would eat that thing every day. I would just like wake up and be like, yep, all right, start my day, put on Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd, try to go do anything in my life and realize I am having an existential moment and sit down and listen to the entire record and then just go, what just happened to me? I would do that every day until I couldn't pay any of my bills. Um, so you can kind of give people a similar feeling by playing these songs that they're super familiar with the song, but they, they're not necessarily they're kind of hearing it again for the first time in a different way. Obviously they know the song, but that's something, nostalgia is definitely something that I think might be, you know, people kind of underutilize. Well, I mean, I guess it's utilized. It's not under or over. It's definitely utilized, but it's something worth looking into.
Yeah, there's a lot of artists and bands that maybe are not utilizing it, and I think they could definitely stand to learn from it. I mean, I had this band, The Brook and the Bluff, a couple of weeks ago, come on the show, and that was their beginnings. They were a wedding band on the weekends, and they would pick music that was kind of similar to their original. I mean, it was within the same kind of range of the originals, and it worked out great because they've got this working muscle, they're putting in the time and the reps. And then they go to the originals, they're already a smooth working machine. So it just kind
Yep.
of all works together, right?
100%. Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps if you're already like a working band. I mean, that's a I have never been in a working band like that. Like not like a wedding or I mean, maybe playing a gig or two a month with like a local band, but never something like a wedding band before.
Yeah, yeah. And then they, did their originals and it all kind of worked. But tell me, like, what was it like for you going from these covers and then taking them on the road? I mean, what did you see the response rate from the audience at the live
Yeah.
interpretation of these songs?
So we never took the reggae project on the road, but the Dead on a Sunday rock band, which does a ton of covers, we took that thing on the road. It was kind of wild. So we started with just like a test run. It was like, I feel like it was May of 22. Had to have been May of 22, 23. I don't know. Long story short, we had like the opportunity. The TikTok was blowing up for this project. I mean, like getting millions of views and all this stuff was happening. People were like, "When are you coming to Dallas? When are you coming to Philadelphia?" And we're all like, we just played a show in Denver and there were 12 people there. Like,
Yeah.
when am I coming? I don't never. I mean, what are you talking? I'm not going anywhere. That's insane. Can barely get my friends to come to a show. Like, this is nuts. So then it like didn't stop. And it was just like, when are you doing this? And we're like, all right. So just kind of like my buddy kind of took a little list and was like, it seems like Texas is a good place to start. Like there's a huge goth scene there. I have family in Dallas. So we had like a free place to stay. So it was like, all right, well, if we do that, we could do like a Dallas, Austin, Houston, Tulsa, Lawrence, Kansas, and then back. So we're like,
Yeah.
all right, let's just try 5. Let's try 5 days, see what happens. And it was nuts. I mean, it was nuts. Like the Dallas show wasn't, I mean, none of the, I don't think any of the, well, a couple of the shows either sold out or got very close to selling out. I mean, like, and what's crazy is like you know, we were the only reason people knew us is because the Bobcore meme, it became Bobcore. So like
Sure.
Bob's Burgers core. It became this whole meme on TikTok. And then like that's the only reason people knew us. It wasn't like we had been in these markets before. We just were like, all right. So we drove a Sprinter down to Dallas, played Dallas. Dallas was a good show. It was packed out, like outdoor venue. It was packed. I mean, like 200 plus people. Our first time in this market. It was crazy. Went
Nice.
to Austin, similar situation, maybe like 90 people. Houston was pretty big, maybe like a little over 100, 150 people. And then Tulsa was packed. You physically couldn't move in the room in Tulsa. Tulsa was nuts. It was like an 100 cap dive bar venue, but it was like you physically couldn't move in there. It was actually like dangerous and awesome. It was really cool. And then
Fire hazard.
oh yeah, fire
Fire
hazard. Yeah,
hazard.
and then we played Lawrence, Kansas, which is sad to say for everyone in Kansas, we will never be playing a show in Kansas again unless there's like an arena show in Kansas or some tour that we are mandated to play on. Um, a multitude of reasons. Most all the fans that came to the show were super nice and awesome, and the people were great. And there were like 200 the people there. The place was packed. It was a great show.
Okay.
One of the local opening bands tried to fight us within 5 minutes of sound checks starting.
What?
It was crazy. He was like this old boomer dude who's a truck driver in his day job, and this is like his local watering hole and the place his band plays every 3 weeks. And so like I'm like setting up my drum set, and he's like telling me like you need to get off the stage until it's time for you to set up. And I was like, cool. I have a contract that says I'm supposed to be on this stage doing what I'm doing right now. So unless you have a different one, you can just go over there maybe and wait. And then he was like banging on our van, and he was like getting real aggressive, and like, dude, it was crazy. So we're like, yeah, no thanks. Yeah, we're just not gonna do that. Now since then we played like Kansas City, which is like 30 minutes away, just on the Missouri side,
Yeah.
which is fine. It's been great. We played a bunch of shows there, had a blast, and the people from Lawrence just drive the 30 minutes and come hang out. Um, but yeah, we did like this. As far as the covers going over live, it definitely became like people obviously wanted like the big cover. We did like a big cover, and obviously as a band, it's kind of tricky. You don't want to be known as you don't want to get Alien Ant Farmed, where like people only know you because of a cover.
Like
Like
a best.
that's yeah,
Yeah.
that's a problem. Or is it? And that's the other thing is like, is it a problem? Because I know who Alien Ant Farm is. Okay, so is it a problem? Because like people will go pay to see them and buy their merchandise, and there are Alien Ant Farm fans that don't care about the cover and listen to all their original music and are diehards and probably, go see them anytime they're in town.
It's
So
true.
everyone's like, you don't want to be known as a band that's famous for a cover. It's like, or do you? Because like people now know you, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd rather be known and have a career than unknown and like the purest thing where it's like I'm always gonna
All
make sure that
digital.
yeah, I'm never gonna do a cover. It's like, okay, let me look at your monthly listeners. 4. Okay. Don't
Wow.
do a cover then. I don't know what to tell you. I do a cover and we have, 395,000 monthly listeners. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I'm just trying to not go work a day job that I don't want to work.
How do you navigate it with the live set? Is it like 50-50 covers originals or
In the beginning, it was maybe a little closer to 50-50. Now, Dead on a Sunday has now released 2 full-length albums and an EP of originals. Like I said, Ross, essentially it's his project. I am hired to do like the light show and the live production and then play drums on tour. Um, so I mean, he's very prolific. Like he's a hell of a songwriter. Plus, he's been producing like very successful records for a very long time. So that's what he does. Like he's currently writing and recording the next album right now, and then there'll be a third album either by the end of the year or early next year for sure. So in the beginning, it was definitely kind of half and half. Now it's like, okay, you guys know who we are now. We've come through these markets. We've now toured the US twice on headlining tours. Like we haven't opened for anybody. We've only done headlining tours.
yeah,
Now, this year, if we get a good offer, we'll entertain doing an opening for, like a bigger band. Because again, we're headlining, but what are we playing? We're playing like 200 cap, kind of smaller rooms. We've in the big markets like the Dallas and Los Angeles and stuff like that. We're playing like 600 cap clubs and filling them up pretty big. Like we're selling 4 to 5 600 tickets.
that's
Um,
great.
it's crazy. So like that works, but if we get an offer for an opening slot with maybe like a band that was popular in the 90s, early 2000s, and they're doing like 1,200 cap rooms, I would imagine that we take something like that. Mainly just because let's go play in front of some other fans instead of just like we're the only draw in that room at that point. Not the only draw. We're obviously touring with other bands. Like we toured with the Funeral Portrait, and that was awesome. Those guys have a #1 song on rock radio right now, or did. I mean, I don't know if it's still there, but they actually opened for us right before they went on tour with Marilyn Manson and Five Finger Death Punch. So
Wow.
they're super homies. They're actually coming through Oklahoma City in February. I am stoked to see them because I mean, dude, they're like, if you don't know who they are, they're one of the just nastiest, rock, but just like groovy, just sick guitar riffs. Like they kind of have like a My Chemical Romance meets like I don't know who I would cross them with, but very rock. Like it's very rock, like modern kind of, kind of aggressive, but not like metal. I don't know. It's sick. It's really sick.
Sound good. That sound good.
But yeah, I think, now we do a lot more original stuff now than we did when it was just in the beginning when we had like a bunch of cover songs and then an album or an EP. Now it's like, okay, there's about to be 3 albums and an EP. We're gonna rock out. I think I got the set list for like the next time we do go on the road, and it's like, yeah, there's a few covers on there, but it's like 80+% originals. But we also have people that are like buying vinyl and, pre-saving songs. It's like, yeah, people aren't just like, when's the next cover song? Like, that's not what's happening. But also, it's by design because the covers were really just used as marketing to get people to then, oh, I like the way this sounds. Do they do other stuff? Oh, they have albums. Because that's the other thing. It's like if let's say you release a great cover song or you have a TikTok video that goes viral and people click on your link in your bio and there's nothing at your Spotify or like one song,
Yeah.
you kind of lost there. Whereas like if you
Nothing.
have an album out or you have an EP out or you have like, a body of work, then they can follow that body of work because now it's released and then it's like, oh, we're having all these eyes on us from the internet. Great. Well, then now you also have something that they can kind of latch onto.
You got to give them content. No,
That's
that.
it.
But I totally respect what you're saying because I went to a Living Color concert last year. Great band, been around forever at this point. And to my surprise, but yet enjoyed it, 50% of the show was covers. And they literally did A, B, A. It was a cover, it was an original. And I was thinking, well, wait a minute. I mean, this is a pretty successful band. I mean, they had definitely at least a couple top albums, plenty of material, the dedicated fan base that will follow them wherever they go. But I also respect it as like, you know what? They are concerned about the show and lighting people up, and they want to give the best quality experience. And it's really cool to hear them sing "Rock and Roll" by Led Zeppelin, hear their interpretation of it, which was awesome, by the way.
I'm
Um,
sure.
but it's just like I saw that and I said, "How smart is that? And why don't more bands do that?" You know?
I mean, I do like it when I go to a show and they hit some covers. I do
Yeah.
also like it when I go to a show and they play the hits. So like you don't have to play the covers. And I get that you have to do albums and all that. One of the bands that does the play the hits thing, I think better than almost anybody is 311.
Oh yeah.
311, dude, I'm a huge 311 fan, been a huge 311 fan for a long time. But right when we got back from Saipan, we went to 311, Stick Figure, Slightly Stupid, and The Movement, I think. I mean, a bunch of like bands that could headline all their own shows. Like they could
Oh,
sell
yeah.
6, 7, 8,000 tickets each in Denver. They played a 20,000 person outside amphitheater called Fiddler's Green. And um 311 went on last. And I watched like, Slightly Stupid, Shredded, Stick Figure, Crushed, and then 311 comes out and that place erupted because everybody knew because 311 was like, hold on a second. Like we just dropped an album in the past couple years. Let's just play everything that everybody knows. And they came out and they played like 12 or 13 songs in a row that were just all the hits, like Down, Amber, Beautiful Disaster. They just played everything. And that
Yeah.
you would look around, every single person is singing. You're like, yeah, you don't need, yeah, just do. So it's like, you can play the covers if you want. You can play whatever. Just play the hits. Now
Yeah.
give people some new stuff. Like, obviously, if you got a new record, play some of the new record. Like you have to play some of the new record. You can't just go out there and be like, we dropped a new record. Anyways, here's all the old songs. Like, you do actually have to play the new record. Just
Yeah.
I would just not play only the new record because I've seen that too. And I'm like, don't do that to me.
No,
Like, don't do
that's
that.
like
That's
that's not fair
crazy.
to do. No, it's not fair. Not it's the
No.
audience wants to hear the what brought them to you to begin with.
Yeah. And then if you can do like when we do new songs live, so I do all the light programming. So I build automated light shows for when we tour. So we bring our own lighting package. I tie into the house lights, and I automate this. It's all cued, synced from the playback rig. It's nuts. It's chaos. It's like one of the.
Wow.
I'm doing a whole course on that thing, and all that's free too. I'm literally just like, here, take it all. Good luck. It's going to take you 10 years. It's going to take you 10 years. I promise you. There's going to be all these guys that are like, buy my ebook, buy my $63 music production course. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to put all you guys out of business. It's free. I don't care. It's free. You're not going to do it. And if you do it, congratulations, you did it. It took you 10 years and it's hard. All I'd say is I build light shows. And so the automated, we have a playback rig, which is like 2 Mac minis in a rack. So 2
Okay.
M1 Mac minis in a rack that are both playing Ableton simultaneously through a Play Audio 1U, which is just an audio interface for playback live. And it plays all of the audio tracks for if we have a click track or we have like some keys in the backing track or whatever it is that we supplement live. All of that's coming through that.
Okay.
And then the MIDI comes out of that also, which goes and changes all of the patch channel changes for the guitar effects, for the neural quad, like the amp modelers that are on stage. All that's patch channel change. Nobody's clicking a button with their foot. All that's happening
What?
automatically, 100%. And then same thing with like, if there's a vocal effects processor, all that's automatic. We can send MIDI signals to the front of house mixer because we tour with our own front of house engineer.
Yeah.
And we have a Behringer wing compact, so we can send like mute signals just from the playback. So like if we know that at this point in time he's going to do a guitar change, I can just mute front of house automatically in the playback just as the session file is playing. It's just manipulating the front of house as it's
That's
happening, and then
genius.
on top of that, I'm automating all of the lights that we bring, which is 4 moving lights on stage, plus 4 bar lights, plus all these different par cans. And then I tap into the house lights, and I already have pre-built sequences for all of their lights also. So we roll into a place, and it's like, and here's what's even crazier. We do that entire thing that I just described.
Yeah.
We do all of that, all the gear, the drum set, the lights, all of that. There are 4 human beings on the road. It is a drummer, which is me.
Yeah.
So I'm doing drums, playback, lighting, tour managing,
Yeah.
production managing. Then we have a front of house engineer, right? We have a guitar player, and then our singer, Ross, and he also plays guitar. That
Yeah.
entire thing fits inside of a van with no trailer, period.
You said like a sprinter van, right? One of
Uh,
the
we
kind of
got a
tall.
we got a Ford Transit 350. So Ross bought a twin turbo Ram Transit 350, which is a 13 passenger van, and we
Okay.
ripped all of the bench seats out except the first. So there's 4 bench seats, I believe, and so it's just the front 2 captain's chairs, driver
Okay.
and passenger, and then 1 bench, and then everything behind that is storage. And we're also talking, we bring like 30 grand worth of merch on the road. All of that, everything I just described fits inside of that van with no trailer. So all these people that are
Genius.
like, we're doing all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, you're not. You're like I said, it'll be for free on the website. You can watch all the courses. Good luck. I wish you the best
Man,
of luck. But it's all, yeah, it's chaos. It's like, how do we're also like gluttons for punishment. Like we also enjoy, because like there's no reason why we should be doing all that with 4 dudes. It is nuts, dude. It is nuts.
yeah.
Like
But
like
but the quality of the show, right? I mean, I'm sure it's awesome. It's probably that much better with the lights synced up to the whole set, right?
it's pretty. I mean, if I could share my screen, I could show you some of the stuff. Because I have unlimited footage. Did I bring like so many cameras on the road? Hold on a sec.
But I'm sure
Um,
you really see the difference, right? It's like your synchronized, customized light show versus just going to these different venues and hoping the guy there runs the lights. I mean, it's kind of
yeah, it definitely helps. I think the other real thing that I want to stress is that and I go over this on threads all the time. I just rail on threads at this one point, which is if you want to make money, you need to bring less people. You need to bring less people on the road. So like we actually are profitable. Like we just toured, we made money. Like we came home with money. We stay in hotel rooms.
yeah.
Like we do not sleep on the floor. Like we stay in like, and not like motel rooms or hostels. Like we stay at nice hotel rooms. Like I'm getting good sleep. I'm in my mid 30s. I'm not sleeping on some couch. That's crazy. Like that's
Yeah.
actually crazy. Like that's not a sustainable way to do that.
No.
Um, so, but the only way that we can do that is because we're doing more with less. We have like we didn't bring a bass player on any. We haven't toured with a bass player once. All of our bass is in the track. The
Okay,
only
cool.
person, the only person that said something about it was a bass player. Oh, I noticed you guys didn't have a bass player. I'm like, yep. Uh, if I have one more person, it makes it 5 people. I got to put in one of the bench seats, which then means I also have to add a trailer. If I have to add a trailer, that means more gas. It also means I now have 5 people, which means 3 hotel rooms instead of two.
Yeah.
Like the cost goes up exponentially. You just add like by adding stuff, and then all of a sudden, instead of us coming home and being like, oh, we made, pretty decent money on the road. Oh, we broke even and that was really expensive and a crazy amount of work and we really didn't get paid for it. And, you know, there's no guarantees that bands are going to succeed in the future. So, like, now, of course, we reinvest back in the project. We're growing, the project's growing. That's all great. Everything's working. But, it is not the end of the world if structure it in a way where you can also get paid for your time while it's also growing. Like you don't have to just like try to tell yourself that like, oh, we're losing money, but it's because we're trying to build this thing. It's like that's
No,
I mean,
make it. I mean
yeah,
it.
it's you got to build it so that you can actually, sustain yourself into the future. So you're not just fighting um, you know, it's like cash flow is the blood of is the oil of an economic engine, like a you know, a business. So you do have to, money has to flow through that thing, like if you want it to succeed. And so if you're, it's like the bands that don't bring enough merch on the road and they just bring like, oh, we only brought like 30 t-shirts. I'm like, okay, I guess I guess you don't want to do this as a career. It
Yeah.
sounds to me like you do not want to do this as a career, which is perfect. I just need you to now say out loud to me, I do not want to do this as a career. Be like, no, no, I want to do this full time. I'm like, no, 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 no. You just
Handle
brought
your
you just brought $800 worth of merch on the road. You're gone for 2 weeks. Say it out loud with me. I don't want to do this full time. I am just doing this as a hobby. Like, like, you gotta take the necessary steps to succeed, or you're 100% gonna fail. So yeah, I feel like that's a lot of where my pointed internet screaming at the sky comes into is like people that say they want to do it and then they don't really quite realize the things that are going to make it so that they can do this thing that they say they want to do.
Absolutely. So tell me, but what's in the future? You've got the course that you're going to put out in a couple of months.
Yeah, I think hopefully I can get the majority. I mean, it will definitely be out, I can say with confidence, before the end of March. My goal would be to get it all done. I mean, really, the framework for the course, like the basics, should be done in the next 2 weeks. Everything's pretty much ready to be like, all right, we're gonna smash this thing out. And then, if I have my whole like blueprint up here. It's really like the objective, which is your objective is you want to do music full time. That's great. We want you to do music full time. I want you to do music full time. That's why I'm making all this stuff for free for you because I want you to do this.
Oh,
um, you have to build a brand, you have to understand your instrument, you got to compose, you have to learn how to produce, you got to release these songs, you got to create content, you got to sell merch, you got to tour. Those are like the base objectives. And then to do that, you need skills. So you're going to need to obviously learn how to produce. You need to learn stuff like Google Drive and QuickBooks and how contracts work. And so that the basic version of that should be out within the next by February is my guess. Just essentially giving people the overview. So if you've never even seen what it looks like from a top-down perspective, you can go through this whole course, which will be, 2 to 4 hours worth of videos. And by the end of it, you'll go, okay, I now know what it is that I need to do. Now there's going to be other courses that I have, whether it's like music production. I can tell you what you need to do. Now I got to teach you how to do it. Great. There's going to be courses for that. There's going to be, I also am just building a bunch of YouTube playlists of all the stuff that helped me. So like mix with the masters. If you've ever been on, checked out their stuff, it's like this really high end, I think it's based in France, but it's like a super high end professional course company that gets the world's biggest producers and mixers on earth that have produced the biggest records ever to just tell you what they're doing.
Yeah.
They have a YouTube channel. They post all sorts of stuff. They also have a paid membership, which I bought, which was worth every single penny. I think it was $300 for a year. So worth it. It's crazy. So worth it. So like I'm going to be making a resources section for everybody. So like part of the next few months of my life is like, all right, build out this free stuff. Great. Hey, you want to learn more about branding? Well, here's the 5 books that I'd recommend reading. Here's the 6 YouTube channels and the 15 different videos that I've saved that you need to watch all this stuff if you're really serious about wanting to learn this particular skill. I don't necessarily want to teach everybody every skill. There's so much stuff out there to teach you the skills. I think people are probably just overwhelmed and maybe don't quite understand where they need to go first and in which order they need to learn these skills. And then from there, let's say they do want to learn branding, they probably don't know where to go to do that. So it's like, okay, I'm going to teach you what it is that you need to know. I'm going to show you a bunch of places that you can get that information. And then at that point, if somebody wants to work with me in a coaching scenario, I've done coaching in the past. That's fine. I sell my time for coaching all the time. If you want to do that, we can talk about that. That's a whole different thing. But as far as like the information, generally speaking, there's so much of it that's free. I don't really feel like paywalling, a bunch of stuff that's really not, I don't know. To me, that doesn't make any sense. Whereas like, hey, you want to do coaching, you want to get together, you want me to so I paid mentors to like review my mixes and my productions. When I was getting started with the reggae producing, I found some of the biggest reggae producers on the earth and I reached out to all of them and most of them did not say anything to me. And some of them said, hey, good luck with your thing. And a couple of them were like, yeah, I don't do mentorship, but you can come record at my studio. And I was like, cool. How much is an hour of studio time? And they're like, $200 an hour. And I was like, what's your PayPal? And they're like this. I'm like, cool. They're like, why did you just pay me $200? I'm like, because for an hour, you're going to listen to my music. And they're like, okay. Like, it's just, it's time. So, there's definitely value in getting a mentor. I definitely feel like I could do that role for people. So I think in the next year, as I have given a ton of free value away to people, there are going to be people that emerge from that are going to say, hey, I want you to go deeper with me on this automated lighting thing. Cool. Let's do that. Hey, I really want you to go deeper with me on production. I feel like I'm getting there, but I just don't understand this. Great. Let's book some coaching sessions. Let's do some stuff like that. So I feel like part of what's on the horizon for me is like get this stuff out there so people know what's going on. They also know that I exist. Great. There's probably going to be some touring this year. I have some of these covers coming out. And then really, as I built this brand, the Do Music Full-Time brand, which is mainly free, 99% of that's just going to be like, here's a bunch of free stuff. Then if someone's like, hey, dude, like, how do I get you on a phone call? Well, let's talk about that. But that's not even in the pipeline right now. Right now it's just, how do I give away stuff for free? And I would like people to know that it's harder than they think it is so that they can prepare themselves to do it. Most likely the majority of people would be so much better off if they accepted that music is a hobby. Just accept that music's a hobby and go get a skill, become an electrician, a programmer, something else. Most people would be so much better off doing that. Your relationships with your family, your financial relationships, your ability to sustain, if you want to, all that stuff. Choosing to do music full time is generally speaking a fool's errand. So if you now understand that, and then I've shown you what it looks like in a 10-year roadmap, and you still want to do it, all right, you might be crazy enough to actually make it. But if
That's so true.
so,
Awesome, man. Tell us where we can find you online.
yeah, so I am at Tim Maholic, so TIMAHOLIC. So at Tim Maholic everywhere. I have that everywhere. And I am at Do Music Full Time everywhere. So if you want to learn more about like the free course and that stuff, that's all domusicfulltime.com. It's got a free community with it too. So people are in there just posting their setups, asking questions. I do free Q&A calls every Wednesday. So every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central, hop in the call if you have questions. I can check out your music. I can tell you, you can give me a rundown of your rig or how you plan on booking shows or touring. We can go over all that stuff. It's completely free. So domusicfulltime.com is probably just the easiest way to just find what's going on. So
Awesome. Well, Tim Maholic, it's been a pleasure, man.
my man, thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.